Hi, my name is Bryan Torres, and welcome to Bryan's Voyage podcast, where we'll be talking about all kinds of topics that affect society and men and women alike. Started this project to inspire community develop and to open up dialogue about society's perceptions of one another and how we can transcend that and break down barriers and break down stereotypes. Today's topic of conversation is integrity and why it matters so much. Integrity isn't just defined as doing the right thing, it's maintaining a standard of conduct that you carry through your actions. And this standard allows people to pinpoint certain characteristics that they feel they can work with. So, one example of that is honesty, trustworthiness, being someone that people can confide in, safekeeping information and secrets, and even in social circles. So when you have bad integrity, people don't feel like they can confide in you. And it sounds almost redundant, it sounds almost childish, but a lot of society's current problems stem from lack of integrity. And we'll go into accountability and we'll go into how that's currently plaguing society. But we look at it as a whole. And if we're going to blame something, we have to ask ourselves, what is it? And it's a lack of integrity in today's day and age. To help kind of steer us in the right direction regarding that, we have to look at the bad and the good. Now, when there's bad integrity, when somebody has a low sense of integrity and doesn't maintain themselves to a certain standard, the standard becomes so low, the expectation of that person is so low that people can't confide in them, they can't trust them, they don't want to speak to them because everything's a lie, everything's deception, and they operate in that mindset. Now, when someone has good integrity, you know them to be noble, you know them to be trustworthy, you know them that you can say, hey, I can count on you. And it doesn't mean being a sucker, because you need to have boundaries. And that's another thing about integrity. Integrity, you can maintain boundaries in a safe and healthy way while maintaining boundaries. But we can go into that in another time. As of right now, we're talking about self accountability. We're talking about the standard that you maintain for you. And you need to ask the hard questions. Am I the best version of myself? Am I the most honest version of myself? Because when you start asking yourself the question of, am I a bad person? You might find some things that you don't like. You start digging. And we call it self-work in the self-help industry. People look at that, and sometimes that means speaking to a therapist, sometimes that means talking to a counselor or getting a mentor to guide you, because a lot of times, especially as a man, I know that if I didn't have certain mentors in place, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And we fail to look at camaraderie as a way of dropping off burdens and having people accountable and hold us accountable. And when you look at your social circle and all you see are yes men, that's not good. You need people who are going to challenge you. And I don't mean negatively criticize you, but help you say, okay, hey, you messed up here. Maybe you can do it this way. Or, hey, I think you can do better than that. You need to do better than that. Because those are the people that genuinely care for you. When you have yes men, all they do is, yeah, sure, you did the right thing. Yeah, and you could be going right off a cliff. So you need to start looking at yourself. You need to start holding yourself accountable. And this is why integrity is important. You can't maintain business relationships without integrity. If you're always back dealing or double dealing, nobody's going to want to do business with you. Nobody's going to open the door of opportunity for you to say, hey, you know what? This guy's a good guy, when you're not. You need to start looking at yourself and decide, I need to be better. Now, if that means physically going to the gym every day so that you can hold yourself accountable with what you eat, then that's another form of integrity. That's physical integrity, because You need to maintain a standard. You need to be a functional member of society. You need to be able to protect those around you. It's not even a matter of masculinity or toxic masculinity. It's a matter of survival. You need to be a functional adult. If that means going to school, picking up a trade, or learning some skill sets that'll help you develop a culture for yourself, or learning how to cook, that's a survival skill. That's not gender based. That's completely a survival skill and a necessity in modern day. You have to ask yourself, what am I lacking? Where are the flaws in my logic? Where are the flaws in myself? And what are some traits I don't like about myself? Maybe I'm too social. Maybe I'm too aggressive. Or maybe I'm too forgiving or allow people to cross boundaries and don't protect those boundaries. Because you can't be a sucker. You can't allow people to just walk all over you. So ask yourself that question tonight. Ask yourself, am I the best version of myself? And what boundaries have I placed or not placed to safeguard the person I'm becoming? Because you need to be better today, but even better tomorrow. And it's not easy. This is going to be a challenge. This is going to be hard. But if you want to grow as an individual, it means tackling the hard questions. And it might mean dealing with childhood trauma. It might mean having to sit down with a therapist and hashing out, hey, I always feel this emotion in this way. Why is that? And maybe start identifying some of the things that make you who you are. And you might discover that there's a whole other person inside of you, that there's a better person just waiting to emerge. Maybe there's some leadership traits in you that you haven't discovered yet. Maybe there's a passion project that you haven't begun to scratch at the surface to because you're too scared to take that leap. Even today, for example, this project of mine is a passion project. It's something I've always loved journalism. I've always wanted to get back into it. You know, I got a little bit of a taste for journalism in high school, writing for the school paper, and I never forgot how amazing it felt to put pen to paper and get this dialogue that's in my head onto something concrete, like pen and paper back then. You know, I'm a little more aged than some of you, but you know, to take it from that format and to see it manifest, is something beautiful. And it doesn't just go for that. Whatever you choose to put your passion into and pour your passion into will yield something if you maintain a certain level of integrity. That's why integrity is so important. And it's a big factor as to why everything's a mess in this day and age. And if you notice, there's lack of integrity in politics. There's lack of integrity in education. There's lack of integrity in relationships. You know, we've made it socially acceptable to lie and cheat on one another instead of facing the hard truths and saying, yes, I did this. I messed up. How can we move past this? How can we grow together? How can we face this? And having integrity will allow you to develop the moral backbone you need to face the hard truths, because that's what they are at the end of the day. And now I'd rather operate in truth than to live a deception. And the worst deception you can have is self-deception. My name's Bryan Torres, and I'm going to be asking a lot of tough questions. So stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this little tidbit.